Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload, I'll be talking about a potential for another storm system late this week into next weekend. So it is very far out, right? That's why I'm not saying, oh, a storm is coming or maybe coming. I'm just showing early indications are pointing towards a potential storm next week. Now, this could be a snowstorm, this could be a rainstorm, it's really unknown. And right now what we still have is that big one that I've been talking about for the past few days. It's still ravaging a bunch of the United States with wind for the most part, right? I mean, I saw the rain from this system pull away more than 12 hours ago, and the wind is just relentless. It's so strong. There's things blowing around everywhere, fences, trees getting bent and destroyed practically. So there's a lot of stuff to still be on alert for, disregarding even that next potential system, which is still very, very far out, and each model kind of has its own story. So before we get into this, if you guys like weather-related content, I'm a hobbyist, right? I love talking about the weather, and I just, it's awesome that people actually like to hear what I have to say, because I do this mainly for the fun of it, and I'm just a crazy guy talking to a microphone, and people like watching it, so it's a win-win. If you like this, consider subscribing, and if you're a returning viewer, liking the video would be amazing. Alright. Without further ado, let's get into this. So first off, what I want to go to is the total snowfall reports from this system. So a lot of people were saying that the snow was minimal with this system, and that's true. You could see not much snow across Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, the UP, but there were a few locations across Minnesota, especially around Duluth, that got absolutely blasted with a good dose of snow. So let's take a look at portions of Wisconsin, for example, right? Western, northwestern, extreme Wisconsin, there was a few locations that got up to 8 inches of snow, but the highest amount was in Esco, Minnesota. Just under a foot of snow fell across Esco, Minnesota. So while this wasn't really a widespread event, you can see this was really localized to just the really a good portion of the Arrowhead and the Duluth metropolitan area. I don't think there are any old, so these are basically the most recent ones within the last 24 hours. As you got to the south, lighter amounts, half an inch. So I was, seeing some radar indications that that a strong snowfall band was setting up across these locations. And I was saying in last night's video that this may be a bit of a producer, this storm system. And obviously on the other side in Canada, this weather reporting thing doesn't work. It's only on the US, but I'm sure there are some pretty decent snowfall amounts, especially if it was able to drop 8 inches, almost a foot of snow across locations that were expecting 1 to 2 inches. So that was definitely an overproducer, mainly just for the Duluth area and northwestern Wisconsin. Anywhere else, it's still going to snow a bit. Lake effect is going to start getting kicked up off of Lake Michigan. So definitely be careful for that. A lot of northern Michigan right now is seeing a rain-snow mix, mainly transitioning slowly towards that snow. There could be a lake effect getting kicked off of Erie, Ontario, and into from Lake Huron. So that will again, like localized, obviously bring some very heavy snowfall amounts. And of course into southern Canada there's still the main snow system, or the system from the snow, not the lake effect. And if I were to quickly show you the interactive radar, sorry about that, you could see that this thing is the main cold front with this is centered right across New York, right pushing into Boston, Vermont, New Hampshire. And we have a pretty strong line of storms, mainly winds with this threat, moving into New York City and New Jersey. So definitely be on the lookout for that. This doesn't look destructive, but definitely even potentially having a lot of lightning and packing a powerful punch, the winds being the worst. Notice across northern Maine, Quebec, various locations across southern Canada, seeing decent amounts of snow or rain, depending on where exactly you live. Northern Maine seeing some pretty heavy snow that may transition towards a bit of rain, and generally the rain obviously being pretty strong. Notice you do have a bit of lake effect across southwestern Michigan that may occur for a bit more, but really up here we could see some amounts in the 6 to 7 inches as well across northern Michigan, which will play a big role in the lake effect. Those snow amounts will be mainly made up by the lake effect. And if we were to take a look at, for example, the National Weather Service, I want to show you the weather radiation map. I do apologize. I was looking at all the radars. And, well, I was looking at them more. Okay, let's keep going. Come on, there we go. Alright, so notice that there's, again, the wind advisories are very widespread out. We do have some high wind warnings across Michigan and into northern Ohio, so they made this kind of an update from a wind advisory into a high wind warning. And then we do have a severe thunderstorm warning just west of New York City, but that will most likely push into New York, especially if that band stays together, so they will probably be under a severe thunderstorm warning. I think there is a lake effect snow warning that has just been issued right... Okay, no, never mind. That looks similar. Similar coloring, but there could be some pretty heavy snow mounts across these locations off the lakes. As of now, it's mainly rain, but the high winds are pretty big story across much of the United States. Now let's take a look at that other storm system. So what the video was intended to be about, but I did want to bring a brief rundown of the weather that's going on right now, especially since it's impacting so many people and it's occurring right now versus the storm system that is only a possibility and is pretty far out. So this is the system we're dealing with right now. You could see it is huge. I mean, if there was more cold air with this system, this could have been much more of a snowy scenario. But unfortunately, the setup that it had working with it wasn't very conducive for snow, but it is powerful. The winds are working with the high pressures on both sides, creating very strong winds. Notice, as this pushes off, we see some lake effect bands kick off and even some bands connecting from the Lake Superior into Lake Huron and out into Canada. So that definitely could be bringing some heavy snow mounts. Again, they're awfully often overdone or underdone by the global models, the lake effect, and usually it is a bit more significant, especially with such a warm lake water temperature and such a cool air mass for this time of the year. Usually lake effect is the most buoyant either late spring or early spring and late fall, early winter. Now obviously lake effect could occur at any time of the year, but typically it could have an easier time to occur when warm temperatures collide with cold air, which is both available in the fall times. And then as the winter comes on, the water temperatures do cool off a bit, so there's not as big of a contrast. Let's take a look into the future. After the storm passes through, notice still several locations, Erie possibly into even, maybe central Pennsylvania, State College probably seeing some snow out of this. There could be lake effect snow bands still going on well into Wednesday. Now, that's when the airflow finally switches from the high pressure, cuts it off. It's more of a southern flow. We could be looking at another break of very warm temperatures. 60s I know are forecasted for my location. I think there's 2 or 3 60s that will be occurring. So a nice warm up. And I know a lot of people are sick of this. They just want the snow. But I love the warmth. And while it is November and typically it shouldn't be this warm, I really don't mind it. That's what I have to say. You can see that the snow has troubles occurring across southern Canada and only does occur across southern Canada. And that's how far north it has to be in order for it to be snow, not rain. As really this warm air mass will be very warm, hence the name. Let's take a look at this in the future, though. Notice that this is now Thursday, Friday, right? So basically nothing going on. Few showers across Florida, maybe a bit of activity across the northwest. No big system in the near future that's kind of bigger than what we've been seeing. There will be activity though across the northwest more than anywhere else in the country. But that's not much to say since the rest of the country will be absolutely dry. So notice, again, right now we're still seeing snow across the northwest, right? A lot of stuff occurring, a lot of precipitation. I say stuff because this thing varies from rain to snow on a elevation basis and on latitude basis all over the place. So notice, this system really winds down by tomorrow, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The new one is starting to come in. And you can see that the main bulk of it kind of shifts into British Columbia. So yes, there will be rain, there will be snow. But it's definitely, I wouldn't say, more significant or more severe than what we've been seeing. That doesn't really justify anything. You should still be on the lookout for pretty bad travel conditions, snowy roads across the higher passes, and obviously across the lower elevations, maybe even some flooding, especially with the amount of rain they've been getting. Now, this storm off the coast is kind of our next player for that big potential system across the central U.S. Now, notice that this system moves in Friday and Thursday and really Wednesday. This thing's going to be a long term occurring system. You can see all across the northwest. But it's that storm that then dives into the Colorado Rockies, and with the warm, buoyant air mass, notice we have the high pressure spinning counterclockwise, right there, sorry, clockwise, so you can see it's very big. The moisture is getting, pushed onto the U.S. So any storm that has ability to pick any sort of moisture up will do so very easily. And notice that that's exactly what this system does. Looks like nothing. We do start seeing some precipitation blow up across the Rockies. A light rain band late Friday into Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. This chair, holy cow. I need a new one. But notice that if you're to play this into motion, we would see this rain quickly develop into a larger rain band, more snow, and now it's depending on where this sets up. If this sets up a bit further to the north, say Minnesota, Wisconsin, this will be more of a snowstorm. It's honestly possible even this could set up a bit further to the south and it could be a snowstorm. It's just the exact correlation between the cold air and the available moisture, and that's always seems to be the case, or oftentimes. And each model shows a slightly different scenario. The GFS is kind of in between. It shows a bit of snow across Wisconsin, Minnesota. Definitely not something to go ride home about. There's a lot of rain. This thing is pushing rain all the way into Canada in late November pretty easily, right? The snow has a hard time transitioning there. And a bit of snow into southern Canada, but this thing develops more into an elongated cold front. And then from there, we'll see what happens. Maybe something more significant. But from the the GFS standpoint, this isn't much of a snowstorm at all. It doesn't drop much snow totals. Maybe across southern Canada, that could be something to watch. But just U.S.-wise, nothing significant. And even across Canada, it's generally north, kind of similar to what we got with this past storm. It's not the near the Canadian-U.S. border. It's pretty far to the north, but it's definitely still something to watch for. Now, this is just one model, right? Let's take a look at the Canadian. The Canadian going out at the same time, again, doesn't have any band of snow that occurs. It does have that system. Let me just show you. Look how much snow could fall, by the way, within that Tuesday. Next Tuesday, which is how I have it up here. A lot of snow across southeastern Canada and the northwest or southwestern Canada, depending on what country you view it from. MSLP and precipitation. Let's take a look at this. So the Canadian does similar things, right? Lake effect across the Great Lakes, and it introduces that storm into the northwest. That thing seems to disappear and nothing come out of it, right? But then we start seeing that precipitation kind of formulate from the Rockies and from the Gulf Coast moisture. It doesn't really make it out as strong as a GFS. You can see almost no snowfall for southern Canada or for the plains. But what it does do is introduce another system a bit more quicker, kind of using the remnants of that first little line, if you will, that wave that we saw just seconds ago. So, I mean, this is the variance that we have. And again, I'm not saying a storm system is coming. This is guaranteed. That's what I'm saying. Early indications, which already gives a hint that this is not going to be accurate. Early indications show a potential storm system. Again, this may be a winter storm. It may be not. It may not even form at all, or it may do something that we don't expect. Like the Canadian, you can see shows a more significant system riding from the southwest into the northeast. All right, that chair needs to shut up. Riding from the southwest into the northeast. Completely different than what the GFS shows at around this time, 234 hours out in the future. Let's take a look at a couple other models that we have right here. So let's start looking at the GFS parallel. Parallel shows nothing, while the Canadian showed a big storm at that same time frame. What it does do is a bit similar to the GFS, a line of rain, precipitation, a bit of snow for Colorado, Denver, and maybe portions of the Kansas plains, Goodland, seeing some snow, maybe a bit brief heavily across some locations, but again, nothing too significant out of this, and not even for the northeast, just a little stripe of snow. And then afterwards, again, doesn't show what the Canadian does. It shows a completely different pattern even. So the variance among this is always what frustrates everyone and frustrates meteorologists and myself. It's really always just a bad thing. Notice though, it does paint a bit of snow across Colorado, Kansas, but obviously that kind of pales in comparison to what will fall across the northwest British Columbia. Many locations possibly seeing north of 100 inches, so I don't know how many centimeters that would be. Probably 250, maybe around 250 centimeters in less than 10 to 15 days, which is astronomical. Notice northeast could see a bit of snow from from this storm system, but a lot of this Midwest section is empty, and the European model, which I'll show you right now, earlier on in the week showed a pretty potentially, or it showed a lot of snow for the Midwest, right? But it was very far out, so that would obviously change. I was just curious to whether or not it would kind of keep that scenario. And what it has done is kind of what the GFS has done, just kept the rain and the precip chances there, but not much snow. So again, we have that system pulling away. We see the lake effect fire up. We see that system move into the northwest at around the Tuesday, Wednesday time frame, continue for an extended period of time, doses of snow and rain, and then again seemingly dissipates, but with the help of this high pressure steering moisture right onto the US, we see a pretty decent band of rain develop, more than the GFS or the GFS parallel. But again, key here is it's rain, it's not really snow. Maybe a bit of snow from a bit further south than what the GFS showed. If you recall, the GFS showed snow a bit further to the north. European does a very similar setup, just a bit further to the south with the snow aspect, and then it kicks up a bit of lake effect, nothing too unusual. So again, kind of depressing, to be honest, because this system was originally showing signs of being a stronger storm. We'll have to see. Again, this is pretty far out, but again, the models have not been trending towards a stronger scenario. This is what the European puts out. Again, really not much of anything. A potential storm, but again, not too significant. Where it will be significant is the southwestern Canada, as I mentioned, up to 100 inches in some locations. The northwest, the Cascades, 30, 40 inches. Sierra Nevada is also seeing quite a bit. And even the interior west, Wyoming, Grand Tetons into Idaho, 20, 25 inches. And obviously southeastern Canada, disregarding this system, this part that is brought by that new storm, potential weakling. But you can see Quebec and Ontario seeing 16, 15, 14 inches. Central Ontario ranging really anywhere from 6, 2 to 6 inches, 2 to 5 inches seems the most fair. And then, of course, the Great Lakes, some locations will be seeing up to 7, 8 inches with that lake effect. And we saw how strong the system is. That wind could really kick up some significant lake effects. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are a few isolated amounts over a foot of snow. Otherwise, that is it for today. Hopefully you guys learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed. And again, the forecast doesn't look too interesting right now. Kind of more of a boring scenario. But again, there are ups and downs. We just had a big, massive storm right through the Great Lakes. It was snowless, but it was a system. This whole next week looks dry, which is unfortunate for those people that like the active weather, but pretty good for those that like the warmth and the calmness. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya.